last 6 years, I've been teaching and speaking for Positive Coaching Alliance out of Stanford University. And we talk to coaches about philosophy and goals and things of that nature. So I want to spend a little bit of time talking about that for a minute. You have, or we have your email address, and Pete said he'll send you a copy of the PDF of this Snow Valley packet. And I've gone through this thing, and you have every drill imaginable in here for every part of the game. So you guys can get all the skills and drills and zone offensive sets, you know, and all of that stuff at the snap of a finger with, you know, the internet and YouTube and DVDs and all that stuff. And if you don't know how to share that with your kids, if you don't have the philosophy and the coaching style where they are going to accept that, it's going to go out the window. Swen Nader wrote a great book with John Wooden called You Haven't Taught Until They've Learned. And I think that's true with coaching as well. So, you know, what we want to do is understand different learning styles and how we're going to reach each of our kids, right? We've got to understand that we've got to know each of our players. When I started coaching years ago, I was in a coaching theory class with Dave Bullwinkle, who has done a bunch of NJD stuff. He's now a scout with the Bulls. He's been a head coach at a bunch of places. And I remember writing an article or a paper for him. In the conclusion of the paper, it said, you know, if a coach shows that he cares about his players on and off the court, proves that he's knowledgeable, and works as hard as he expects them to, then they'll listen and try to learn, give their best effort, and be the best teammate they can be. So that was a sentence or a paragraph I wrote at the end of the paper way too long ago. And then I got caught up in all of this stuff, all of the X's and O's and packets and drills, and I developed this, you know, manifesto that I thought was my philosophy. And so I would give it to assistant coaches, you know, and I'd say, teach this. This is our philosophy. And we were pretty thorough. And in the middle of a really bad practice in 2002, when I had gotten back to Bishop Amat High School as a head coach, I went on, you know, a little rant in the middle of practice. And it was a listless practice. Nothing was going on. And, you know, guys, would you just try? You know, it doesn't look like you're trying. And you're making the same mistake over and over again. You know, you're not thinking, just think. And you're acting like you don't care. And I realized, crap. That's what I wrote 25 years earlier, you know, when I was 18, 19. That it really came down to that. As my coaching philosophy, I really wanted kids to care as much as they could, right? To try as hard as they could, and to think about what they're doing. And if you care, think, and try in all aspects of their life and what they're doing, then you can't ask much more than that. So I've really simplified that philosophy, you know, to something that you know, is an 8-word mission statement. So I think you got to share that with your coaches to get them to, you know, coach like you and understand how you're going to get through to different kids. Now, I put together a slide that I was going to pass out to you, and our printer was doing kind of crazy things. But that's the schematic for coaching success. And when I use words like schematic on campus here at a place like Fairmont Prep, they get real excited, right? But that's kind of how my brain thinks, right? And some people, like my wife, will look at that and say, you know, that looks like the pizzas you make sometimes, right? Because I just put everything on it, put too much on it. But that's how my brain thinks. It might not be how a lot of brains think. So I'm going to try to simplify it for you. But the bottom line is, if we start at the bottom, at the foundation, is our coaching philosophy. And what I want you to do is I want you to think about a few things that are really, really important to you in terms of coaching your team. Playing hard, playing everybody, being smart. Put those things down on paper, right? 3 to 5 things that you want to hang your hat on, so that when I walk into your gym and watch you practice or watch you play, I can say, these are the 3 or 5 things that this guy really, really emphasizes, right? Because you can't emphasize everything, right? Because you emphasize everything and you're really emphasizing nothing, right? So pick 3 to 5 things that you really want to hang your hat on and stress those things. right? And that's your coaching philosophy. How many of you guys have a coaching philosophy that you've taken the time to write down? Right? Think about it a little bit. A couple of you. You probably have something that you give your parents at the beginning of the year. You have a coach's meeting, right? And you talk about it a little bit. And you say, hey, this is what I'm all about, right? Take the time to write a few sentences down and share that with the parents that you have, because that will do two things. One, it will hold you accountable, right? Because you wrote it down, now you've got to coach that way. And the second thing, it will help teach them too. Right? This is what our philosophy is. I want you to support that as a parent, because that's going to be they can be your greatest ally or your biggest enemy. Right? So we want to get them on our page and make sure that they understand how we want to coach. All right?